Welcome to LOA Today. Walt Thiessen and Louis D'Souza here on this Monday, November the 26th, 2018. It is 8 a.m. New York time, 5 a.m. Los Angeles time, that's 1 p.m. London time, and 12 noon in Sydney, Australia. So hello wherever you are around the world listening to us, either live or on the podcast recording. We're glad to have you join us today, and we hope that your week is off to a good start, and we're going to help it get off to a better start. If it's not off to a good start, we'll help it get off to a good start. Either way, it's going to improve one way or another. I promise you that. Excuse me. And we're going to be carrying on a conversation that we had kind of continued a couple weeks ago when Louis brought his sister-in-law Astrid on, who is quite good at talking about and explaining Jin Shin Jyutsu, and we've gotten some good response from listeners about this. People telling us they want to hear more about it. So we figured, okay, we'll try to give you some more today, and that more is going to be some stories and some examples and just some stuff from real life, because we all like to deal with real life, where Jin Shin Jyutsu really has helped people in large ways, and it's going to be people that we actually know something about, which makes it even easier. So first things first, Louis, you were unable to make the show last week, but glad to see your healthy and hale face back again this week. How you doing?
Very good, thanks, Walt. How's it going?
I'm doing all right, Been keeping real busy doing all these podcasts and learning all the technologies and all the ways that the technologies can trip me up, and figuring out, okay, how do I get around that? How do I get around that? And, oh, okay, here we are. So, yesterday we had an interesting experience in that the recording on the Spreaker platform where we record the podcast got all filled up. The space got filled up. And I had been previously assured by the people at Spreaker that, oh, well, when that happens, it'll just delete the oldest one and put the new one in place. Well, no, actually, it doesn't do that at all. So so that was a little bit interesting. But the way I looked at it was a good way to practice not being upset by results, not being upset by what happens in reality. And as soon as I looked at it that way, all of a sudden I realized everything was resolved, because I have 2 or 3 different ways I record this. So we're good. No problem. No big deal. It was just one more example of how it's what we focus on that makes the difference. So, Jin Shin Jyutsu,
Excellent.
we were talking before. Yes, thank you. We were talking before the show about how Jin Shin Jyutsu is one of these things that you can't easily put into a container. You can't. There are no real easy ways to say, well, here's your step-by-step method. It's not like ask, believe, and receive. It's a little bit more complex than that. And we've been trying to figure out, okay, so what can we do to make this a little bit simpler and put it into people's hands so they can start using it more effectively. And I think we're going to have to work on that one as sort of a project. But starting off with some examples to kind of inspire us, that's a good way to start. So, you're much more of an expert at it than I am, so I'm going to kind of turn that part over to you. What can you tell us? Can you give us some ideas, some examples, some stories that give us a clue about how all this stuff really does work?
Well, I really want to go back to the beginning, Walt. So Jeremiah was the guy who started it, and he was a family of doctors. So his father was a doctor, his father's father was a doctor, and he was the second son. So fortunately, only the first son has to be a doctor. And he was able to go out and experiment and do whatever the hell he wanted. So that was fortunate for him, because he was a bit of a wild card. So he went out and did a lot of experimentations, like eating seeds for long periods of time, or only drinking water, or starving himself. Or there's a lot of stories floating around about what he did. But the upshot of it all is he got very, very sick. So, he had learned a lot about health and other things, and he'd studied the Kojiriku, which I'm pronouncing incorrectly, I'm sure. It's a Japanese book of wisdom, and kind of like a Shinto Bible, I think. Mm-hmm. And he had studied a whole lot of things, and because his father was quite high up the social scale, he was able to get into libraries that weren't normally available, and he poured over lots and lots and lots of stuff. But the upshot is he got very, very sick. Like, his whole family pronounced him terminally ill. He was going to die.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So he went up. He said, "All right, send me to the cottage in the hills and leave me alone for 7 days." So he went there and he held finger positions, different finger positions he held, like this, etc. And he got colder and colder and colder and colder and colder and colder until the 6th day he thought he was going to kind of die. So he just lay down, and then a fever came across him and he was just burning hot, completely burned. You know, he was sweating and went into a complete fever scenario. And then on the 7th day, bang, he was completely healed.
Wow.
Got up, walked away, and said, "I'm going to spend the rest of my life studying, teaching this."
And you may not know the answer to this, but I got to ask the question anyway. How do you know what finger positions to hold? I mean, when you just
all these books that he was reading was giving him mudras. The mudras are something that the Chinese have used forever, different positions to hold with your fingers.
Oh.
And they've been taught for centuries that.
Oh, okay.
And the bottom line, the simplicity of it all is your hands can heal you. Man has known that for a long time, okay? When medical science came in, there was like, whoa, no, you've got to take our tablets. No, don't use your hands.
Well, no wonder I'm so confused.
You can't heal yourself. No, that's not it. Now, we know from the law of attraction that the only person who ever heals anybody is themselves.
Mm-hmm.
When you're in the right space, the right time, you get the right doctor, you get the right tablet, you get the right advice, you get the right exercises, you get the right cooperative components to heal you. But you are the one that allows it because you create your own reality. All right?
Right.
So it's important for me whenever I'm talking about health and healing is to go back to the core foundation which is not taught. And that is you heal yourself, and you bring in the cooperative components, and you find your way into a better place, all right? And that is all caused by your thoughts, nothing else. So as you think, ooh, it feels right to go with this doctor, take that tablet, go to this practitioner, go to that homeopath, go to this person, go to that person, or hold my fingers, like in Jin Shin,
mm-hmm.
and slowly but surely you land up feeling better, getting better. When you get to that point in your life where you realize that you heal yourself, it's incredibly empowering. Okay?
Yeah, sure. Well, especially if you know that it's true deep down in the marrow of your bone.
Yes.
That's what you're driving at. I think
Yes.
because the belief is so strong. So yeah, I could see that.
Now, a lot of people listening to this will say, no, my doctor heals me, or this medicine heals me, or that person heals me, or this person heals me. None of that's ever true. It's not true from the point of view they can't do anything to you unless you allow it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
They're good at taking measurements.
No. I mean, you must understand when you allow it, it does seem like they're doing it for you.
Mm-hmm.
It does seem like it. It's
Sure.
not an unreasonable assumption. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
They helped me because I took that stuff. All right, I sell products which help people lose weight and all the rest of it, and I'd love to say that it's the products that does it, or it's me that is supporting them that does it, but in truth, it's them allowing it that does it.
Which makes sense.
And it is a struggle to get people who are selling products like me to change that entire thinking process around. Now, it's very difficult for me to sell products anymore without saying, well, sorry, we have to sit down and I have to teach you the law of attraction first. You came to me to lose weight, but I'm sorry, I'm going to have to teach you the law of attraction. So, it's really interesting because until you understand the dynamics of how you heal, then it's really difficult to start teaching you something like Jin Shin Jyutsu. So Jin Shin Jyutsu is using your hands as jumper cables. So when you put them on two different parts of your body, you're now using your hands all the way through your body to the other hand, and you're now getting the energy to move between there and there because you're using your hands as jumper cables.
Okay.
Okay, I'm just using the example of the forehead. Aren't exact points. These are the exact points. Okay. So you're now getting energy to move between 2 points which are blocked. So how you know they're blocked and all the rest of it, we're not going to get into that right now. I'm just going to explain that. There's a blockage, and if you hold these 2 points here, you get the energy moving. Now, the way Abram explains it is that if you've got a problem in your past that has caused a blockage in the pipe, which is, let's say, crystallized into a hard ball on the side of the pipe, which is slowing the flow of water going through, or energy, okay? So you've got this blockage, all right? So you want water to flow through, but you've got all these bits and pieces that are slowing it down and blocking it. So what you're doing with the jumper cables, putting them on you, you're now taking and you're now laying new pipes. All right? So when you've laid new pipes, the energy can flow quickly and easily because they're clean, they're new, they don't have any past history, they don't have any calcification. And when it flows beautifully through the new pipes, the old pipes kind of dissipate and vanish. And that is based on the law of attraction. When you're focusing on what you want, clean pipes, good water, nice energy, then the old pipes will just vanish.
I can think of a lot of plumbers who would love to be able to do that with real pipes. I mean, this pipe system is clogged up or screwed up. Just make that one vanish, make this one appear. That would be wonderful.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I don't think man has thought that far yet.
Mm.
Okay, so the energies of the bodies are very, very advanced compared to a physical plumbing scenario, but I can see the day when one day we'll be able to do that kind of thing. All right. And we're starting to do it with wireless now. We're able to get a lot of information and things moving wirelessly.
Mm-hmm.
And that is being able to cut corners and to find new paths, etc., with ease through in a way that we hadn't previously perceived possible. I mean, it's...
Well, I think there's something about a wireless phenomenon that seems like it could be pretty fluid. You can kind of imagine how it's pretty easy to replace something that's wireless over here with something that's wireless over there. That doesn't seem all that difficult to do. It's only when we're dealing with stuff that we can physically touch that we start to believe, oh, no, well, that one's just a lot harder. We can't really pull that one off. Wireless, yeah, I can see that. But no, not the physical stuff. It's like saying, I'm going to replace this physical Ethernet cable, and another one's going to replace it over here, and it's just going to do the same thing, but it's going to do it better. And here we go. Okay, we got it done. That's the part that's hard to believe in for people. Now, why is that harder to believe? I don't know. Because it's physical, I guess. Well,
we used to use Ethernet cables. Now we use Wi-Fi.
Right.
Yeah. We used to have cables all around the house. We used to build floors that are high off the ground so we can lay the cables. All that's gone because we're now using wireless.
Well, actually, I still use it because it makes the podcast cleaner. But I get your point.
Yeah. There'll be very little reason to use much wires. I mean, the mouse is now wireless. The keyboard's now wireless.
Absolutely.
Everything's wireless. Okay,
Yep.
So the wireless world is the way it works. So what we're looking at is finding ways of putting clean energy in the body and opening up what they call the safety energy locks. Now, the safety energy locks, there's 26 on one side, 26 on the other. And they're big balls, like tennis balls. They're about that size. Okay. And it's not like very difficult for you to find them or hold them because they're so huge. So compared to a lot of other arts or a lot of techniques, it's interesting that we call Jin Shin Jyutsu an art as opposed to a technique. I much prefer the word art.
Why is that?
Because I started realizing along the ways, Jeremy Marai gave us a certain amount of flows, but I've managed to make my own flows. I found what unblocks me, and it's not in his books, okay? So it becomes an art because it grows and it grows and it grows. And nobody's saying there's only 26 safety energy locks. We may find more. And I've heard Mary Burmeister say that. So it's an evolving thing. And it's not like people come to Jin Shin and they want what that lady with the hiccups. I love her story, by the way. Thanks for passing it on to me, and I say hi to her because I'm sure she's watching. So she took the book, the Jin Shin book, and used it, opened the back and saw what helps for hiccups, and then put it on her husband, and then he stopped hiccuping and fell asleep, which is quite unusual, I hear, and it was a good success story, I suppose. But what I'm trying to point out here is that when it's an art, it doesn't actually work like that. When we teach Jin Shin Jyutsu, you don't come into a class and they say, this is the problem, this is what you do for the solution. They teach you the concepts and the philosophy of how the energy in the body works. You've got the main central coming up the back, going down the front, and you've got the left and right supervisor, and then you've got the mediator, which flows left and right. So you start learning basics about the body, and then they start giving you more and more bits and pieces to put all the pieces of the puzzle together. But it's really fascinating once you start getting into it. So just to recap, because I think I've been over this briefly. So I was playing with another energy technique, and then somebody said, if you want to take it further, try Jin Shin Jyutsu. So I jumped on this little book that they gave me for Jin Shin Jyutsu. And it was a nurse's handbook for quick positions for patients. So I looked there and it said, if you got warts or bunions, try this one. So it's just holding 2 points on your foot. So one is under your I'm trying to think of the word, it's gone blank. Outside of your heel. Okay. So you hold the outside of your heel. If anybody knows Jin Shin Jyutsu, it's 16 and low 8. And the other one's on your calf muscle. So I just held those for half an hour every day for 7 days. Nothing more. And I'd had these warts on my foot for 2 years. Okay. And one was cut out by a doctor during that 2 years, and it just grew straight back. And that's the problem. When you don't clear the energy, they're going to come back. They're going to remanifest. All right. When you're cleaning the energy, it's a lot to do with letting go. It's a lot with relief and release, which is step 3 at Abram's teaching. So I held these things, and they both I lost. I lost both my warts. I like that. I lost both my warts, and my athlete's foot that I had as well vanished. Wow. So I was like, wow, this is so cool. And I just knew for a fact it was this, because there was nothing else I was doing. Nothing. It was just doing that. So I got so excited, because if you go back in my history, I tried to study energy before, and I was left stone cold. I went to a spiritual healing course, and the guy absolutely promised me that I would understand it, but no, it didn't work at all. And I didn't understand it by the end of the course, and I was really annoyed that he said I would understand it when I didn't.
Yeah, I know
people overpromise.
Oh yes.
So to actually have these warts go was very exciting for me, because with Don Eden stuff, which I was trying before Jin Shin, I was getting somewhere, and I was really happy with the 3 taps, and other things that Don Eden was teaching, and they were really working for me, and the zipping up and all the rest of it. And once I experienced this, it was like a light bulb moment for me. It was absolutely mind-blowing, because I absolutely knew with clarity this was Jin Shin. So I phoned around, and I found a lady doing a Jin Shin one day right next to my house. Like, literally, I can walk there.
Wow.
So I've just come back from her yesterday. We did a study day, and we do one every month, Carlis, and I've been doing that now for about 23 years with her. Once a month, one day a month, every month, and it's been amazing. There's been so much learning, so much growth, and all the rest of it. Because I've done about 9 5 days and 4 3 days, of different special topics. And I feel I'm only starting to understand it. But you're able to use it right from the beginning. But when you're starting to feel the flows, feel the energy in the body, feel the textures of the different points in the body, and waiting for the different pulses and alignment and all the rest of it, it can, over time, evolve with individuals. So in the beginning, I was getting immediate results. But over the many, many years that I've been studying it, you start getting a greater appreciation for how it works. So you really don't go into a class and say, this is the problem, this is what you do as a solution. Now, the Western mind is taught that way. You go to school, you learn what the problem is, that's a solution. Now you're taught this is an art, and you have to manifest it and mold it and kind of come to terms with how it all works and just play with it and all the rest of it. And then you really get the beauty of it all. You get the power of it all. You get the art of it all. You get to make your own flows. You get things just change and multiply and all the rest of it. And it becomes part of your life, and it becomes part of your meditation. It becomes a form of energetic meditation, movement meditation. There's a bit of movement in it, like Tai Chi's movement in meditation. So, you realize from Abraham Hicks that when you meditate and you still the mind, you get closer to Source, and Source is the power within you that creates worlds. And that power is the power that heals everybody. Okay, that's the power that fixes you. So you start realizing that as you're playing with this Jin Shin Jyutsu, you're playing with the power of who you are. You're playing with the force and the power within you that creates worlds. Mm-hmm. All right. And you're aligning with it. So you're aligning with yourself. And it's really, really quite amazing. It's a journey. It's a long journey.
Yeah. Well, we're used to journeys in law of attraction circles because we do a lot of them with some very basic concepts, and then we do endless amounts of podcasts. So the journeys are definitely part of the whole experience.
So, as I've mentioned before, I went on my first 5 days. So I went on the 1 day, very excited. Couldn't go on another 1 day. I wanted to dive straight in the deep end and do a 5 day. And I was literally, my nose was very skew to one side. I had dark rings under my eyes. I had alopecia of hair falling out of my head. I had back problems that were so painful that I couldn't even bend my head to get in a car without crying, literally crying. And I went and studied my first 5 day, and you get lots and lots of more. Now, it's quite overwhelming. Okay, the 5 days for a beginner, for the first time you go, it's quite overwhelming. All right. And it's not intentional. It's just that this is information, we're presenting it. And then you go home, and I just took the flows that were given in the books, and I started doing them. So I woke up automatically at 4 o'clock every morning, and from 4 to 6 for 2 hours, I did Jin Shin Jyutsu. I never set an alarm, nothing. It woke up automatically, took out my book, did a flow, found flows that I really loved, like the liver flow. Get this beautiful sheen on your skin, lovely oily feel, it just really gives this, like people like moisturizer and all the rest of it. If you do the liver flow, well, for my body, you wouldn't need any of that, okay? It's not necessary. So you get this lovely sheen all over your body from top to bottom, not just your hands or your face, where a lot of people put the creams. So your whole body is now glistening and glowing. And it's a subtle thing. So you're kind of like realizing, wow, this is cleaning out the body. My pores are getting smaller and tighter, which is supposed to when that's healthy. Because when you got those black spots and all the rest of it, that's when there's a lot of toxins, etc. And when it gets really smooth, that's when there's not a lot of toxins in the body. And then you learn the janitor flow, which is the 1125 flow, which is very, very simple. So you hold your one hand on the shoulder and the other one goes under your, like little bone under your bum. So both on the left-hand side. So you can do the janitor. The janitor just cleans out the body. Very powerful one, very simple, something anybody can do. And slowly but surely you start playing with all these different flows which they have. So you start off with number flows from 1 to 26, and then they've got a few special ones. And then the second half of the 5 days is based around the organ flows. So the organ flows are lung, kidney, liver, etc. So you're playing with all these things. And it was interesting, by the time I went to my next 5 day after doing about a year's worth of Jin Shin every morning, automatically, my nose had straightened, my dark eyes had gone, there was no back pain at all. My hair had grown back on my head, I didn't have alopecia anymore, and I never pronounced it correctly, so forgive me. People would come up to me and say, my gosh, your nose is straight now, like it wasn't before. And people were saying, oh, you're looking so much better, so much healthier. Even my mom was commenting. So, you really get a lot of validation as well. And I really, really found that Jin Shin Jyutsu was so primarily important to helping me. And I came to realize from an Abraham Hicks point of view that what I was doing was getting a lot of relief and release from Jin Shin Jyutsu. So I was really everything was just flowing and letting go and all the rest of it. But, if anybody's got any questions and they want to put it up live at the moment.
We actually have our hiccup story person sharing
hi,
some questions.
I can see you've written something there.
She's written quite a bit. She appreciated the analogy about pipes. That really helped her. And she says, so let me understand. When I did the technique for hiccups on my husband, which I found in Mary Burmeister's book, you're saying, no, that's not how it works? Please help me understand how that happened then, please.
It's not how it works. So the concept that when you've got a technique, okay, a technique is, here's the problem, hiccups, here's the solution. Now, you use that concept from the book, okay, but it's not how it's taught. If you go on a 1 day or a 5 day, nobody says this is the problem and this is a solution. Now, it depends which group you do. There are different groups of Jin Shin Jyutsu, but if you do the core Jin Shin Jyutsu, they do not teach that at all, and it's not the way it's promoted, etc. You get taught really the art, and the art is learning to feel your way, learning to read the pulses on the wrist, okay, to diagnose or to feel which flows to do, etc. So it really is, the fact that it worked is great, and it does, because I did that as well in the beginning. I took the wart thing, okay, and then I did the flow, and it worked, okay. So to get your initial experiences, sure, but when it's taught, it's not taught like that. So go on using them in the beginning, it's fine, but all I'm trying to elaborate on, Beth, is that there's just so much more to it. It is vastly more advanced to it. And you asked, where can we find out information? jinshinjutsu.net, and Walt can put that up.
Yeah.
Or Astrid's website, flowsforlife.com, is where you can go to get more information. But Jin Shin Jyutsu's got, the main Jin Shin Jyutsu site has got all the different 5 day and 1 day training days around the world. No, actually, I think around America, because I know the UK's got their own one. For the 1 day. So I know it's jinshin.co.uk if you're in the UK. I don't know what country you're in, but I'm guessing you're in America, Beth.
She could easily be in the UK. Oh, she's in South Carolina, actually. Yes.
South Carolina, yeah. So I would go to the main Jin Shin Jyutsu website for more information on that. I would suggest going on a 1 day first. And then go on a 5 day. But really, you want to jump into the deep end, go straight into that 5 day, and just let it flow over you. Don't get too bombarded.
One thing,
once you start doing your second, and after you've done 3, you are officially allowed to practice the art. Okay, you're allowed to be a practitioner. So That's 3-5 days, and then you're allowed to practice. So it generally takes about a year or two to get qualified. It depends if you want to fly around the world and do 5 days.
One thing I'm curious about is some of the stories, a lot of the stories involve holds or touches that you do on yourself, but some stories involve, like the nurse's manual, somebody touching somebody else. Does that make a difference, whether it's you
Yes.
self-applying it or somebody else applying it? And why?
Excellent question. So one is called self-help, is when you do it on yourself. So you can do the same flow, same holds on yourself. If you're ambidextrous enough, some of them are a little tricky. Or you can, or you do it on somebody else. Okay, so when you do it on somebody else, you become the practitioner doing it on the client. When you're doing it on yourself, you can do as much as you want. So when you're doing it on somebody else, you're limited to an hour. If there's 2 of you, it's half an hour each. If there's 3 of you, divide by 3. You never work for more than an hour, and I've found I said to my friends, that's rubbish, work on me. And I went down to some great friends of mine down the coast. We had a Jin Shin session where we all got together, and they worked to me for like 2 or 3 hours. And they reminded me of this the other day, and I was actually sitting on the floor shivering, and they had to cover me with blankets.
Oh, my.
And I thought, no, you can work longer than an hour. But no, I was taken to the cleaners. It's quite powerful when somebody else is working on you. So you need to be careful. But that's about the only stipulation, and nothing worse happened than I got extremely cold.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're doing it on yourself, there's no limit. You can work for hours and hours and hours on yourself. For some reason, your own body doesn't overcook itself.
Is there benefit to duration? Because all the stories you've told so far seem to involve doing it for, I think the shortest segment you described was like 10 or 15 minutes. So they all seem to have some fairly significant duration associated with them.
So it's always interesting. People say to me, how long do I have to hold the hold?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it's a very common question. And my answer is, how quickly do you want it to get fixed?
Mm-hmm.
The longer you hold, the quicker it's going to get fixed.
That's nice, though, to have that association. I mean, if you hold it longer, you're going to get there faster. That's good.
It's also interesting that you need to be holding the right points.
Yes, well, that's the other part of it. I mean, a lot of what you described sounds like experimentation. Well, let's see if this one works,
To be honest, there is quite a bit of an experimentation, but you'll find benefit with any flow, all right? Almost any flow will start bringing some relief and release for you, which is quite interesting because you can't make a mistake, and you always get relief and release, but it may not cure whatever you think is your problem.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? But for one problem to fix, you often need something else to fix first. All right, but we're not aware about, if you've got this chain reaction going on in your body, you're not quite aware of what the beginning is. So you really need to go, and then it fixes. All right. And the thing that I felt about Jin Shin very strongly in the beginning was it took me to the foot of the mountain so I could see my problem very, very clearly. Okay.
How did that work?
So
just through the experimentation?
We often think I've got bunions, okay, but you're not really aware that the energy is not flowing nicely down the leg. And when you do the bunions, you find out that your athlete's foot has gone as well. And then you actually start realizing that it's not actually so much the fact that you got bunions, it's actually the fact that the energy is not flowing down the leg properly and back up again. Okay, so you kind of start looking at it from a very different perspective. You don't look at it as problem solution. You start seeing it as you want clean pipes flowing clean energy. And everything will sort itself out. Okay? Because all the cells in your body know where they need to go, know what alignment looks like. but you need to get out of the way. You need to take the resistance away so that you can allow everything to harmonize. All right. So in Jin Shin Jyutsu, you use...
that sounds like what Jin Shin Jyutsu really is. Then it's learning to get out of your own way.
Absolutely. It's learning step 3. It's a process, which is why I think it's so closely related to LOA and Abrams' teachings is it really is one of the best tools I've ever found for step 3. Now, please, I don't believe everybody's going to jump on the Jin Shin Jyutsu bandwagon, okay? Some people are like Reiki, some people like homeopathy, some people like exercise, some people like this, and whatever works for you, that is what you should use, all right? I really want to get that clear. This is just one tool that I really can strongly recommend because of my own experience. So give it a whirl. Might work for you, might not. Okay. I love that saying in the Richard Bach's Illusions book, isn't it? Everything I say may be false.
Yes, that's right. We talked about that a couple weeks ago.
So, it's really a self journey. That's what the point is of that comment. It's a journey of self-discovery about yourself, about your own energy, about your own blockages, and so you go and find your own path to it. And 2 Jin Shin Jyutsu people will have a completely different path, okay? completely different. Astrid, when you're doing when you're giving her a flow, and you want to try ground her at the end, she'll kill you. Okay, because she's transported into an incredibly, she's transported into the vortex. Okay, from an Abram perspective, so she's in this blissful state, and if you use the grounding technique and you rip her out of that, she gets very annoyed.
You got to clarify that. What is the grounding technique?
The grounding technique is like holding the big toes, or holding the fours, which are the 2 points at the back of the neck. That'll help ground people and bring them back into the body, and we like doing that at the end of a technique just to ground them. So not many people have the experience Astrid does, but it's something just to be aware of. Everybody's so different, everybody's so completely different. I don't have that experience. So.
You make it almost sound like people are having like an astral projection kind of experience where they're flying out of their bodies, and the grounding is like bringing them back. When you're in alignment, you do feel you are not quite of this world. When you're in source, when you're in the source environment, when you experience that, the clarity, the visceralness, the textures, the colors, the experiences that you can have, and everybody's different. Some are auditory, some are visual, some are... So the kind of experiences you can have is quite expansive and vast. For me, I get incredible clarity. I really see how things are, and I see how people are, and I see where things are going. I just see things clearly, and that's my desire. My desire has always been clarity. I want clarity, and clarity is as Abram points out, is one of the important aspects of alignment, of knowing you're in alignment, is incredible clarity. And some people want just to be happy, and some people just want incredible love. And everybody wants something different, and what you want, because of the law of attraction, you're going to draw towards you. Okay, so it's going to be an individual journey, and if somebody wants to understand Jin Shin Jyutsu, you can't just say, you got this, so you do that. It's so much about real life alignment experiences. Step 3, that the step 1s are your problems. So the warts that I had on my foot, or the cuts, or whatever I've had, are the step 1s, the manifestation of what you don't want. Okay. And when you go into the relief and release, then everything heals and goes into alignment, which is quite amazing. It's to describe the amount of relief and release from that year of just doing Jin Shin for 2 hours every morning, and the incredible dreams I had from 6 to 7, because it was from 4 to 6 I did Jin Shin. From 6 to 7 I had this light sleep of out-of-body astral floating dreams of colors, etc. So it was a very delicious phase of my life. Now, I was going from an incredibly stress ball to non-stress ball, so you've got a great contrast going on there.
Now, I don't have such vivid experiences because when you're more in alignment more of the time, you don't have so much contrast. Okay, so you don't have the big wows that you used to in the beginning. You just tend to live a more happier, more balanced life, etc. So I'm sharing a whole dynamic of things that go on in the background when you're looking at Jin Shin Jyutsu. It's not as simple, and yet it is incredibly simple.
We have another question I want to pass along from Shireen. She says, "How to defeat depression and anxiety? And I am on meds, so I am fighting with depression, and it's not easy. Please advise."
Hi, Shireen. Thanks for the question. Hold your thumb. Hold your index finger. Hold your index finger, either hand. Okay, so that's worry, and that's fear. Start with something as simple as that. And really do it for fair amounts of time. Just really hold them. One will feel better than the other. Just hold them. Just hold them. Trust the process. Start understanding Jin Shin. Maybe get a book. Maybe go on a course. Detox the body. Okay. Only if you're depressed, you're generally toxed. It's pretty standard. And understand what depression is. Depression is nothing more than you focusing on what you don't want. Those thoughts about what you don't want is what's causing all the problems. Okay? I could help everybody in the world with this basic statement. Focus more on what you want, less on what you don't want. And none of that will manifest anymore. You'll be laying new pipes because you're focusing on what you want. The water will flow clearer. The depression will slowly vanish in the background because you're not even thinking about it. You're not even talking about it. You're not even interested in it. You're interested now. You're fascinated, and you're absolutely exhilarated about understanding how the new pipes work and how they're going to help, and how that new focus on what you want is going to start magnifying what you want to bring into your life. So using Jin Shin to help release the old while you're focusing with clarity on what you want will get anybody out of depression, will get anybody moving forward. And people will say, "Oh, but it's easy for you to say." Okay, and then I will say, argue for your limitations and they're yours. Okay, so don't argue that one. You argue that one, you're just going to magnify what you don't want. Okay, go down the route of focusing on what you want. Wouldn't it be nice if I was just a bit happier? Wouldn't it be nice if I went into revenge? Okay, because revenge is so much better place than depression. Okay, and from revenge I go to rage, and from rage I go to anger, and from anger I go to frustration. Frustration I go to I don't care, and from I don't care I go to hope. Okay, don't try to jump from depression to hope to happiness to excitement, because the gap's too big. So go gently, go gently. We're not recommending you remain in revenge. We're not recommending you remain in rage. We're not recommending you remain in anger. We're recommending that the step from depression to revenge is the next logical step. Okay? And it might not be that for you. You might go to rage. You might go to something else. But rage, revenge is the next logical step vibrationally to move to. But you may be able to jump higher or not. It just depends on the individual, but try not to jump too far too soon, all right? Because it really makes life a lot easier that way. And it's interesting because I'm not a good person to talk about depression. I've experienced depression once, and it was for about a minute. And you know what I realized? I realized that I was feeling self-pity. Mm-hmm. It's feeling sorry for myself, all right? And as soon as I realized that, the realization in itself snapped me out of it. And I'm a double Leo. I'm a very positive person. So depression is a bit of a quandary for me. Why would anybody want to play with that? I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
You know, it doesn't sound very nice. I don't know.
No, it's
I've
not.
experienced it for a very short period of time. So, you know, focus on what you want. Think about how nice it would be to do this, to have that, to play with that, and just visualize it and visualize it and visualize it and play with it in your mind and act as though you've already got it. I love that one story Abram was saying. That lady says, Abram, you don't care if I never get my lover. You just want me to visualize it and imagine it in my head, and you really don't care at all. Abram says, yeah, you've got it. Excellent. You understand. You've got to get to that place where you're just enjoying it so much in my mind. You don't care if the happiness comes or not, but you're just so enthralled with it in your thought process. And the universal law of attraction doesn't have a choice but to manifest it when you're in that situation. It doesn't have a choice. It will manifest.
You mentioned in your description to Shireen about holding the thumb and forefinger, which were, I think you said fear.
Worry and fear.
Worry and fear, right. And you said to hold them for a fair amount of time. For somebody who's starting off, I don't think anybody really has a clear idea when you're starting off how much a fair amount of time is. What's a fair amount?
Again, I go back to the same question. How long should you hold a position for? How quickly do you want to get rid of the depression?
Oh, okay. So just keep hanging on. Don't let go.
Because if you're depressed, you're generally worried about something. Mm-hmm. If you're depressed, you're generally fearful about something. And it's quite interesting when you understand those thoughts. Oh, it's these thoughts that are making me feel not so great. Now, I wouldn't spend more than 14 seconds working that out. If you do, they're going to get bigger. All right, so once you've got an idea what they are, you say, okay, I'm going to not think about those anymore. I'm not going to rip them out. I'm not going to take them and remove them. I'm going to focus on what I want and let what I don't want vanish.
That's good.
A lot of people will say that, oh, it's so simple, but actually it is. It is.
Well, that's a good thing.
And you can say it isn't, but I can tell you it is. And if you focus more on that it is, I promise you, you're gonna get much better, much quicker.
Beth Ann tells us that she found a class in her hometown, so she's really all excited. She found that through the website that I posted the link to.
Well done.
Yeah.
That's great news. That's
really
great
good news. And then Karuna asked a question, can something like rheumatoid arthritis be cured?
So for rheumatoid arthritis, I suggest going to look at Louise Hay's book, You Can Heal Yourself. Have a look at what the physical symptom is and what the mental aberration is. Okay, so you've got arthritis. Look at Louise Hay. You can do that in a few seconds by typing the word Louise Hay arthritis, and it'll come up with the words to use. Okay, so what Louise Hay is doing is saying, here's what you don't want, the physical symptom, arthritis, and he's saying, here's what you focus on, which is focusing on what you want, not what you don't want. And they're nice words, and they're clear. So you use that to go from what you don't want to what you want. The liver flow, if you did Jin Shin Jyutsu and get around to a 5-day course, the liver flow is fantastic for joints, for lubrication, etc. So because I'm a big fan of the liver flow, I know that's useful. My mother had rheumatoid arthritis, and she actually died from it. And it's incredibly debilitating.
Debilitating.
Debilitating. So you really, you know what my mother was doing? She was listening to the news 24/7. Mm. She even had the BBC on in South Africa, listening to it.
Wow.
Okay. And she would never turn it off. There was news on all the time. Mm. Now, we all know that is incredibly negative.
It certainly is.
And is not advantageous. So
yeah.
If you've got something that is continuously feeding negativity into your life, okay, I don't recommend you remove it. I recommend you find something that you're positive about, excited about, and focus on that more and more and more and more until the law of attraction kicks in and magnifies it for you. All right. Don't try rip out what you don't want. Don't recommend that at all. A lot of people suggest that. Dig down deep in the mud with all your problems so that you can slosh around and try to get out of it. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. All it does is if you spend more than 14 seconds on that, it magnifies it. Okay, it magnifies it. It just gets bigger. The law of attraction says, if you're going to continue going down this route, I'll make it bigger for you, and I'll make it bigger for you, and I'll make it bigger for you, until something happens. You either die, or you start following the rocket to desire what you want, and you get into that more positive place. So neither is wrong. Neither is wrong. But it's just the way the law of attraction works. If you understand the law of attraction, it can really, really, really help you move forward in your life. It's quite amazing. It was interesting. I had a guy in the sauna. I like bringing up my sauna chats. So,
well, you have a lot of insights in that sauna, so it's not terribly surprising, really.
This guy was telling me, he was saying to me, the world's flat. I said, that's fascinating. I've heard a lot about the Flat Earth Society. My brother's mentioned it, and I kind of looked at it, but I didn't really understand it. So I said, explain to me why you believe this. So he brought up all the stuff, and it's very, very interesting. So a lot of evidence, 2 hours worth, and I was showing incredible interest. So he elaborated and elaborated and elaborated. And I pulled out my phone, and I was looking at different videos and different information and different people that he was recommending. He was telling me somebody knew more than Abraham Hicks a long time ago, and I started looking into this guy, and I was not impressed with him at all. But
oh well,
it's rare that I find anybody that teaches anything about the law of attraction that hasn't been clearly presented by Abraham. So, actually, if anybody does know anybody who knew or taught with the clarity of Abraham Hicks before Abraham Hicks's time, I'm extremely interested to find out. I'd really, really like to know with that kind of clarity, because I'm really trying to see how much of that information has been clearly presented in the past. It's a small fascination of mine. So at the end of it, I said to him, you're obviously very invested now, because somebody gave him a challenge. He said, I'll give you £2,000 if you can prove to me the world's round. And he said he couldn't prove to him that the world was round. So he started finding that the world was flat. It's very interesting. There's a wall, an ice wall somewhere where there's a lot of land on the other side of it, and there's a lot of gold and a lot of wealth and all the rest of it, but no humans allowed to go there. Never mind, it's fascinating. I was quite amazed that this very, very, very intelligent individual was completely wrapped up in this. Okay, so I said to him at the end, I love what you're saying. That what I've come to understand with the law of attraction is when you focus on proving something, the universal law of attraction will bring in evidence to agree with it. So if I wanted to prove the Bible was wrong, I would find huge amounts of evidence to prove that it's wrong. If I wanted to prove the Bible was right, I'd find a huge amount of evidence to prove that it was right.
It works both
now,
ways.
After 2 hours trying to convince me that the world's flat, this guy was completely and totally unhappy with what I was saying about how the law of attraction worked, and turned around and walked away and didn't even say goodbye. Okay. He was like, mm-hmm. and I was like, okay, I understand that. And
we've both been on both sides of that. Everybody, I think, has been on both sides of that. You've been in the place where you're the person who's saying, that's just a bunch of nonsense. I can't even tolerate hearing any more about that. And we've been on the side where we're explaining to somebody else, and they're the ones saying that, and we're saying, okay, where did I go wrong here?
So when you understand what I'm saying about that, is you really understand, that you create your own reality.
Mm.
To the degree of the world's round or the world's flat.
That's about as...
you create your reality, okay?
That's about as creative of using the power that creates worlds as you can possibly get, because that is literally creating a world.
Exactly. Abraham always points out that man knows there's something a lot more powerful than themselves, because we haven't been able to scrape together bunches of sand and put it together and make a planet yet. I love that analogy. So we know there's something much bigger than us.
I figure I'm doing pretty well if I can gather together a couple of grains of sand. That's an improvement.
Walt, I don't know if you've got your advertising in. I can't remember. Did you get it in the beginning?
I don't think we have. No, you're right. We only have a few minutes left. So, yeah, I mean, I don't have to have 5 minutes for that, but let's make sure I get it in. First and foremost, have you subscribed? If you haven't subscribed, please become a subscriber. It's really easy to do. The links are now in almost all the places where these podcasts are stored and recorded online for you to play. And if you just look in the descriptions, you'll find them there. But if you can't find them, or if you happen to be looking at one where the links are not included, just go to the homepage of our website, loatoday-net, and you'll find links there for subscribing. And then once you're a subscriber, hey, share the fact that you're subscribing, because that's how more and more people get their daily dose of happy. They have to find out from somebody. It's kind of like when Louis was first exposed to Jin Shin Jyutsu. He had to be exposed to it. Somebody had to share it with him. Otherwise, he couldn't become, the very well-informed person that he is today about it. Well, somebody shared it with him. You can do the same kind of thing. You can share LOA Today and the Daily Dose of Happy with somebody, and it doesn't even have to be somebody you know, because of the way social media works. You just put it out there, and people find it. So please be sharing in whatever social media you use, the fact that you're listening to each one of the episodes. Share it every single time. That's what Beth Ann's been doing. That's what Nasha's been doing. That's what a number of people have been doing. And it's really, well, first of all, we really appreciate it. Second of all, the people that you're putting out and who are finding it are going to be appreciative of it. They're appreciating it already. So, do subscribe, do share, and do contact us and let us know what you're thinking. I mean, if you're a member of the Law of Attraction Changed My Life group, where we are live streaming these events, come to the event while we're live streaming. The schedule's in there on the events page. And, share your comments during the broadcast itself, or just send us an email. You can email me at walt@loatoday.net. We also have the contact page on the website at loatoday.net. You can contact us through the various social medias. Whatever you want to do is fine. Just find a way to contact us and share your stories, share your experiences, share your questions, share everything that you want to share, because we do address them. We bring them up, and we bring up as many of them as we can during the podcast. So subscribe, share, and contact us. And thank you for continuing to be a listener and a watcher and a subscriber. So that leaves us with 3 minutes left, Louis, and I'll turn that back over to you. Let's see, do we have any new questions? New questions. A lot of people saying thank you, but how do we sum it up?
I was noticing the depression one seems to have vanished.
I still see it on mine.
Oh, okay. I was just wondering if anybody like Beth, I would love to have a live chat with you. Please jump on a call with us. We can talk about Jin Shin Jyutsu, or if you've gone to your first class, we can talk how that went. I really appreciate your input there.
We do put the link to the platform that we use. We use the Blue Jeans platform for Louis and I to talk, so that we can broadcast that to you. And the link for that is in the description for this post in the Law of Attraction Changed My Life group, if that's where you're watching. So by all means, any of these events, click that link and join us, because we love to actually talk to you live. That would be wonderful.
It's just a little app you can download on your phone, and then we can talk. It's really simple.
Yeah.
So again, the person who's talking about depression, please come on. I'm not good with typing. I can't feel where a person is. But if somebody talks to me, I get a far better idea of what's going on and where to go and how to talk to them.
Actually, that's another point that
makes a huge difference to me.
What you're raising is a good
I'm
a
a
good
very,
point.
Very
how does somebody reach you, Louis? I mean, if somebody wants to reach out to you, how do they reach out to you?
Yeah, sure. Just louisdesouza.com, louisdesouza@gmail.com. Yeah. You've got it on your LOA website usually, but you can put it in the description. Anybody can contact me anytime. I am building my website, which is going to be louisdesouza.com as well.
Mm-hmm.
I just bought that. So, I'll be putting that up as well. The easiest way is just email. I'm on Facebook. I'm everywhere. So, I'm pretty easy to get hold of.
All right. That sounds great.
I don't have much to hide.
That's a great thing. Now, all we have to do at this point is figure
out. Only way to hide in this world is in plain sight.
This is true.
In the old days you could hide, but now you have to hide in plain sight.
Yeah, that time, that era is pretty much gone. And there's some good things associated with that as well. But the main thing is, thank you first of all for taking the time to go through this. We got to figure out how we're going to turn this into something maybe a little more systematic. Maybe we have to figure out how to do a one-day live. I don't know. But the point is, we got to do something.
I would love
pick this up.
love to just take an hour, a podcast hour, and just get people to hold different points that I'll tell them to do.
Let's do that next week then. Let's do that Monday. That's a good idea.
I know Astrid is going to come in as well. So
is she coming next week?
I think she's back in from Jakarta by then. I'll have to double check.
All right. Well, let me know, and that way we
gone
can
for about a
schedule
month to Jakarta, and it's like amazing place. Seen some amazing photos. Wow.
Oh, cool. All right. Well, one way or another, we'll be going over the subject next Monday. I'll try to specify once I know from you which way we're going to go. So you'll have to let me know.
Yeah.
Okay.
Fantastic. Thanks for the input, guys. I love that. And if you can come on live, it'll be even better.
Absolutely. And in the meantime,
take care and have a great week.
Absolutely. We'll see you all next time here on LOA Today. Goodbye, everybody.
Cheers, everybody.